Let's get it.
It's Too T3rpd.
All right. Question number 1. You freestyle?
Absolutely not.
One day, someone's just gonna come here, like from earlier, and he's gonna bust a crazy freestyle. I'm telling you, I'm waiting.
Honestly, I can't wait for that for you. Right. But like, I'm gonna be real. I'm not your guy.
He said, "Yo, it's gonna happen, just not with me."
It would be bad.
He said that ain't what it was when I signed up.
Thought we were talking about dirt.
Oh, of course. We about to get to that because you already know it's the Too T3rpd podcast, and it's your boy Donovan, aka Mr. You knew what it was when you signed up.
Yo, what's good? It is the newly renewed professional slump. You see what I'm saying? We're stepping it up. You know what I'm saying? We're Yo, what's good? It's your boy Slump. SLUM. 3 P's, 1 D. Y'all know who it is. You just don't know the face. That's all.
Even though you might, you just won't see it no more. Is what the understanding that I'm getting. I don't know. I guess it's something that I do to these camera dudes. They just don't want to end up showing their faces no more.
Normally, when you're used to being behind the camera, you don't want to be in front of it.
Good point. I'm learning. I don't know. One of these days I'll get that. But for now, you know, it's Too T3rpd. But y'all already know. Okay, let's get to some legit business. I gotta be legit too. Okay, so this has been a long-awaited episode. I'm actually really excited. So you might not know the face because I definitely didn't either. I knew the logo though. So funny story. Shout out to the homie Mr. LivingSoil, because honestly, when this dude came to me about you, I just remember him saying, "Yo, I met this guy at a grocery store. He's super cool, really nice guy. He's gonna bring over some soil. I'm gonna test it out. And if this stuff works, I'm telling you, this is getting ready to be the next thing." So I'm like, all right, man. Because, like, when I say this is the person that I trust the most when it comes to growing and all that stuff, LivingSoil, like, if he gives the stamp of approval, I know, like, you got that shit.
Yeah, he was a good guy to meet, man. I remember that. It was at Rooted Organics.
Yeah. Yup.
Him and Bitcoin.
Yep.
Bitcoin Mint.
Yeah.
He kills it too, man.
That's right.
So those two guys were like the first, and it's been a while since then, but those were the first two guys that I had kind of like met. And I remember once we had kind of gotten this thing rolling a little bit, I was like, okay, I need people just to use this, because you can't just like go to a store and be like, hey, you want this?
Yep.
It's like you got to build some sort of credibility. So I was like honestly sliding in guys' DMs. Like I was like,
Yep.
Hey, can you try this for me, please? Like, just let me know how much you need. I'll get it to you. Like, you don't owe me anything.
Yeah.
Just like, can I get some feedback?
Yep.
And it was, Mr. LivingSoil and Bitcoin Mint.
Yep.
Right? And those two guys have been awesome. I mean, I still keep in touch. But it's kind of funny kind of looking back that far and like your relationship to Mr. LivingSoil as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny to see that kind of come full circle.
Oh, yeah. Both of those guys, because like it was around the same time that I had really started getting out there and connecting with them. So I just remember you dealing with them, and I was like, okay, I see what's going on now. And then everybody else started grabbing on to it, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. I owe those two guys a lot, and I tell them that too. I haven't seen Mr. LivingSoil in a while, but like Bitcoin, I see him every now and then, especially at some of the events. Those guys I'll always be in debt to, because they were the first ones to actually like try it.
Same.
I wouldn't be here if they hadn't agreed to do that.
For real though, bro.
Yeah. So I appreciate those guys a lot.
But hey, you done came a long way now, and now we finally get to know the man, the myth, the legend, RiverView LivingSoil. Hold on. Oh wow. There we go. They're live audience. I'm like, yo, what's happening right now, yo?
They're behind us over here, right?
Slacking. You already know.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, I'm gonna try this. Ricky Kreklow.
Yeah, it's weird.
Kreklow.
I'll get Kreklow, I'll get Kreklow, I'll get Kreklow.
But it's Kreklow.
Kreklow. It's weird. It's a weird one. You don't hear it too often.
It's something about the last names that start with a K that they just can't pronounce.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird one, man.
You already know. But all right, yo. Okay, now let's get started. So we just talked about how you kind of got into the St. Louis scene. Let's talk about your origins with really growing. Clearly, it's bigger than growing. It's more about agriculture.
Yeah,
I'd say. So let's talk about just your gardening, your agriculture, like. Yeah, these origins. Yeah, let's start with these soil origins.
So
let's get straight to the roots.
Like, it's kind of.
Oh, that was good.
I like that.
Yeah, I see that.
You got to keep that in your pocket.
Hey, you know.
I'm glad I recorded that one.
But like, so for me, it's always kind of been something where you've been like had fun working with plants and passionate about plants and gardening and whatnot. But where everything really became serious to go from like, okay, yeah, plants and it's fun to play with and whatnot. And I had a few friends that started a CBD company. It's called Grindstone Harvest Company. No longer company anymore. CBD ended up, it was okay for a bit, but it became hard once everything got really saturated. But so they started this company, and then they kind of reached out. It's like, hey, we need help with the grow. And I was really excited about that, because you kind of go from something like in theory and doing it small scale, and then being able to really, really do it. So we did an outdoor grow actually up in Montana for a year, which was really fun. A lot of hard work. Because then you realize like a lot of growing isn't as much just dealing with plants, but it's like fixing broken equipment. But we ended up getting just hammered by weather. I mean, just some wicked storms at the wrong time, and we were like, we are never doing that again. It's just too much risk. And at that point too, it's like really hard to get insured and crop insurance and whatnot. So it just didn't make sense for us to do that anymore. But we wanted to stick with growing in soil, right? And whether that's like more of like a potting soil or native soil, and that was actually in ground. But we wanted to move indoors. Yeah, go for it.
Potting versus native.
It depends. So like potting soil is really nice because you get to cheat and create really good soil structure right off the bat. In native soils, it's just you kind of get what you get, and you can do things to help change and modify that structure. But you have a lot less flexibility, and it takes time. Right? That's why when you have like these really productive gardens and farms that have been doing organic and low till or no till, it takes time to do that. There's one actually, and it's kind of a cheesy little movie, but it's kind of fun because it takes you through this whole process. There was a movie called like The Biggest Little Farm on Netflix, and it just kind of talks about how many years it takes to really like revive like abused soils. So native can be amazing, but it's a lot of hard work to get there. Potting soils, it's nice because I can literally just add certain ratios of, peat, worm castings, compost, biochar, some sort of aggregate like perlite or vermiculite. And you can create perfect soil structure that you can just like take in a bag and grow in it just like that. Right? So there are advantages and disadvantages to both, because especially at scale, native soil is pretty nice because it's there. Like you don't have to import it, right? You don't have to ship it. It's just, and then the other thing I know it's big in the wine industry is terroir. Right, where I know like different grapes have different flavors depending on the soil that it was grown in, and I think you're going to see it's already there, but I think you're going to see more of that with cannabis as it becomes more mainstream.
It's so funny that you mentioned wine. So I actually met a sommelier a few days ago, and so we were talking about like how they were explaining to me how like when it comes to the wine, the different types of grapes, like within one category, it depends on where you grow, what time of year you grow, the soil that you use, the angle of the sunlight. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And hearing that, I'm like, okay, that's cannabis, right? Like in a way, it's like, especially if you're doing outdoor, you need to really consider all the different elements and things like that. And so it's just the gears are turning, but I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please. Like, that's a really good point. I mean, you talk about all the different factors that are going into impacting the flavor of wine, which has been like very carefully cultivated and bred for a long time. Right? Like people have grown cannabis for a long time, but I'm not really sure in terms of the history if it's had quite as much of a like human intervention,
like a true cultivation era.
And wine has had that for a long time. And I'm really excited to see cannabis get there in terms of selections based on environment and genetics for where it's being grown and the soil it's being grown in.
Definitely,
because I think stuff's going to get really special when it get to that level.
Oh yeah, and I would say like Missouri is in a very interesting spot because I'll say quickly where I'm from. I'm from Virginia, right? So that's where the founding fathers came and grew a shit ton of tobacco. And like you were saying, damaged soil is hard to recover. So there's parts in VA that you can't grow anything, right? But you come out to the Midwest, this is the breadbasket. They grow stuff here, so you know they have to maintain the soil. So there's very unique soil composition and soil life here that I know in the Midwest you can't get anywhere else. So that's why the weed is so unique when you come here. Yeah. At least that's what I'm starting to pick up on.
Yeah. Dude, the other big one, too, is like when you think about the last ice age, when you get a lot of like that granite and rock dust all deposited into the ground, which
makes it
has
hard
a
to grow.
Huge impact on like microbial activity, right? And whatnot. Because I've been lucky for just to have a relationship with an older gentleman who is really big into the biochar company that I actually source our biochar from. So he does a lot of talks on regenerative agriculture and whatnot.
Okay.
And is really, really big into getting rock dust and biochar like back into the soil. Because you wonder why like places like Iowa and Nebraska and Illinois and all these places are just a little bit farther north, right? Kill it. Right, in terms of like at least in corn and soybean, which is pretty much it seems like anybody ever grows. But it's a lot of that has to do with kind of depositing those minerals there, right?
Yeah.
So it's really neat, but it plays again into terroir, right, and the unique structures of different soils and different places and how that impacts flavor. It's cool.
Nah, definitely. Yeah, D, you cannot let me ask too many questions, bro, because this will go on forever.
I got you.
Go ahead.
All right. So back to what you were saying about Montana.
Yeah. Okay. So grew in Montana, did not go well. Just you don't have control over things, and when you put in that much time and effort into something, it's like we wanted to scale down, but raise quality and have more control, so it's less risky because you already ran the risk of testing hot, right? And to kind of go on top of that with weather, it's just like you're trying to minimize risk. So we ended up moving indoors, and at that time we didn't have the infrastructure to mix the volume of soil that we needed, right? It's a lot, and we're like, okay, we're going to pay less to ship this in than we would for a mixer, and like we reuse those soils for years. So it's not like it made more sense to ship in than to buy a mixer and kind of build up infrastructure, sourcing all this stuff and doing it ourselves. But it was a lot of money to do it. Yeah. Right. And I'm just like, at the whole time, I'm like, why are we doing this? This is kind of silly. But like in the Midwest, there was nothing. Right. And out West, I mean, because really when you think of like living soils in the market now, there's a few companies that come to mind. Right. There's not many, and none of them are around here.
Right.
Right. So we ended up shipping it in from way out west. Honestly, we shipped it in from Kiss. Right. At that point, a lot of respect for that company. They do really, really good stuff. Their product is amazing. Right. So we shipped it in from them. But now I just ship something in from across the country. So in terms of just like your own responsibility for your own emissions, and granted, the grand scheme of things, that's not what's going to hurt anything. But it doesn't sit right. And then you're paying a lot of money to do it. But you got to do it. So we ended up doing that. We ended up doing this for a few years. And then we all kind of eventually got out of it before we lost our shirts because it just became saturated. It became very hard to do it. But then it was kind of after that, so we had left that position. And I'm like, okay, kind of what now? What do I want to do? How do I use this? Because I didn't want to leave that space, right? They're at least like cannabis and cultivation in general. So I was like, okay, there is still this huge void that no one has filled. Because like at the time I was thinking somebody should do this, but it wasn't on my radar for me to do. I'm like, no, I'm growing this right now. I don't have time for that. But then when that changed, I was like, okay, like we're going to do this, right? And we're going to do this right. So at that time, it's just like started experimenting with a lot of different mixes, seeing how far you could push different things with different minerals. different ratios, because we were talking about, again, like a base mix of like peat, compost, worm castings, biochar, and different kinds of aggregate, and just playing around with different ratios of that to create the right structure. Because what you're looking for is like a good ratio with like air water, right? Because you don't want to drown your roots, but you want it to be able to hold water and other nutrients like that. So playing around with a lot of that, but that was all like by hand, right? So that was on tarps and with big barrels, just turning these things to mix that up, letting that cook for a bit and throwing plants in it and see what worked, right? So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of soil testing and playing around with that until you could finally get things where you wanted. But what's nice and what hemp has kind of opened up is there's a lot more. I think it was like the 2014 Farm Bill kind of opened up research on hemp, right? Which is it's cannabis, right? It's all the same thing. They're just chemically different, right? So now there's a lot of people doing a lot of specific research on like nutrition targets that they have for corn, that they have for beans, right?
Okay.
So you can start off with these, right? Of, hey, this is generally recommended or it worked well in this study, right? But it doesn't mean it works well in your situation. So you kind of take these targets, you start from there, and then you start playing with things.
Got you.
Right. So that's what I was doing for a while until we kind of ended up with what we have right now, which is our high performance blend, which is like the one where if you go to a store, that's the one they have. We have like a houseplant mix, but it's just we're working on getting that more into like nurseries, right, and greenhouse, because it's a little bit more budget friendly, right? It's all the same inputs, but it's just a little adjusted ratios to bring price point down. But we don't do that with the cannabis one, right? Because it's worth the extra stuff, right? Your increase in yield for what we put in there is worth the extra $10 a bag that you'll pay. Definitely. Like, you will get your money back for that. So we don't go cheap on any of that. Or not even cheap, but just kind of play with the ratios to make a better value. So I messed around with that for a lot, and then saving up. And then eventually the best thing that ever happened was being able to get a mixer. Because then what took you like half a day took you 20 minutes. So able to really increase production, got a space to where we could actually store larger volumes of soil.
So is it still all in Montana?
No, So moved back. So Montana was outdoors. We moved back to Missouri.
Okay, to do the indoor. Okay, got you. Okay.
Good question. Right, thanks for bringing that back.
Okay.
So outdoor Montana, then we moved indoors, and then eventually left that. And then I had, this is when the rates were crazy during COVID, right? So ended up getting a place outside of town a bit, and I was like, okay, this is going to be HQ, right? So at that point, started building up the infrastructure to be able to house Riverview. And if anybody's been out there to pick up like bulk orders, right, you've seen the spot. So it's been a lot of work to kind of get that where it is, but it's been rewarding to kind of be at a place where we're really happy with where the soil's at, and being able to get that to stores so it's more available to people, so they don't have to come to Columbia, right? You can hop over to Grow Active, right? Or you can, in Kansas City.
Shout out Grow Active.
Love Grow Active. Awesome spot, right? Bo's the man.
Yeah. Oh no, he definitely is.
Yeah. So I've loved working with those guys. Super knowledgeable staff. So it's been super fun working with them and trying to connect with different stores. That's a big push we're going to be making this winter, is trying to get into other states, just so, because we get a lot of interest from people like in Illinois, Ohio, and Michigan, but it's expensive to ship soil. We can ship smaller volumes, but like our best value is like by 5-gallon increments, and to do freight, it's a beast, right? So we really want to get with these retail partners to make it much more affordable for people in the Midwest region to be able to actually get that soil.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, but it's been a ride. It's kind of funny looking back years ago. It's like I wouldn't guess I was on the other end making the soil rather than growing the plants. Yeah. But I really enjoy that because you get to help level up other people's gardens. It's not the only factor by any means. But it's really rewarding to be able to put forward like a growing media that people can then apply their own style to. And either just hands off, I want to grow medicine for myself, or people that get really competitive with it, right, and want to be really good at it. And I'm like, hey, please let me help make you better, right? Or like let me put a product that you can use to hopefully upgrade your garden. So it's been a lot of fun, man.
Hell yeah. So let's go into a little bit of your cannabis origins, because I feel like that'll start diving into some of the deeper questions that I want to ask about Riverview and how it goes into the growing as well.
Yeah. So again, like for me, it was kind of a lot of like the cannabis specific stuff has been more so centered around like hemp origins.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Because we were growing hemp for smokable flower. So essentially, again, same plant, just very different chemically.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Because like other than that,
Gotcha.
it had been kind of again, like more hobby level, right?
Gotcha.
Or like small scale. But as soon as we entered into that space, that's when it really took off to where it's just like you become kind of consumed by something.
Yep. Makes sense.
So it just, and then when that kind of also, when COVID hit and everybody's sitting at home I was just like, I was just inhaling books, right? Anything I could to kind of help my knowledge create a better soil and become a better cultivator, to help better understand how plants operate.
That makes sense.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was definitely not like any formal education regarded to that. It had just been a passion about plants that evolved into an opportunity to go cultivate hemp, that then evolved into an opportunity to like create these soils that people can use to cultivate their own medicine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. It's been fun. It's like being able to play around with this with my own plants out in we just have like some hoop houses that we've done a lot of R&D with, along with a couple beds that we'll play around with stuff. So being able to dive into how like different strains and different levels of nutrients respond differently to different, it's really fun to get to play with all those variables, because that's again ultimately what led us to what we have right now in the high performance blend.
Okay. So okay, now I want to ask about, so we trying to see, cause I understand where you're going with it. So we talked about earlier how you we were in the athletics. So growing up, did you smoke at all growing up or anything like that?
Could not.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because we were like in, you get drug tested a lot.
Yep.
Like, so NCAA has strict drug testing, like overseas has strict drug testing. So like you could not mess around with it.
Yeah.
So, because at every point, it's like you get an email. It's like, hey, you got to go. You have a drug test by the end of the day. It's like, all right, got to go do that real quick with the trainer. But like, you couldn't mess with it much. Like occasionally, in the summers, we could. But it was always like, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's risky.
Yeah.
Like you do that. It was like, because I was in college 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm 32.
Same.
So it's like it's not like it was that big of a deal, but when you were involved in athletics and drug testing, with that
shit was
like
real.
It was.
Yep.
Right. It's just like I can even like look at like my own family's, like our evolution of like their views towards cannabis.
Yep.
Right. And like aunts, uncles, grandparents, even my folks. Right. It's just like you got to think of the time period when they grew up.
Hell yeah.
Right. And you're talking about like the war on drugs.
Exactly.
Right. And Nixon stuff. So it's just Reagan, Nixon didn't do a whole lot of good stuff in terms of being honest about what cannabis really is and how it could be used in the dangers right of cannabis.
Exactly.
So it took it was different, right? It took an adjustment, but it's just like kind of looking back to where it's like, okay, you could kind of smoke in high school, but it was like not as okay because you're in athletics, and in college you definitely can't, right? But it's been once you got out of like athletics and you're not being tested, then you can finally actually like enjoy the plant.
Yep.
It's different. Like when you smoke, you're not always thinking about an email that I might get to go take this drug test, which all of a sudden then it's like anxiety, and all of a sudden like now you're not having fun.
Yep.
So it's been nice since getting out of that world a little bit to be able to actually like enjoy smoking. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was nuts. Some of my teammates did not care. But it was just every time a drug test came up, I got tested, and honestly, it's probably because they thought I was going to pass everyone. So they're like, "Hey, make sure you test him."
Yeah, no, that's seriously, that's how they operate, bro. A lot of these teams, they choose like one or two people. It's like, yo, we know y'all are good.
I was
everybody else.
Guys. Yeah. So it's like that's right? Yeah. It's so I just too much anxiety around it to really enjoy it.
Hell yeah. But that's funny though. I see, like I said, when I was first getting in contact with you and stuff like that, and LivingSoil didn't do a very good job of telling me what you looked like or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I legit thought you was about to be some old ass dude or some shit like that. And so like now just hearing all the stories, like okay, we probably even crossed paths back then. Cause I used to hang out in Mizzou a lot back then.
I'm sure we would have.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like you kind of run into people years down the road, and you're like, you look really familiar. It's like, where have we known each other? And you start kind of diving into it. It's like, okay, that one thing at that one time. It's like, yes, I remember you.
Yeah.
But it's until you get that trigger, it's totally different.
Yeah.
And we're going to dive into that too.
Word. No, so I have a quick question, and I'm going to hold on to that maybe for the second half, because, dog, it's burning in my heart that I really want to talk about. You know what I want to talk about. But, so, I have a question. So, while you were not, from the time you became aware of cannabis until the time you quit athletics, would you say that time frame in which you weren't smoking gave you a better appreciation for the plant now that you can?
100%.
Okay.
Yes, because so for me, the big thing that hit, two things it helps me with a lot.
Okay.
One is sleep.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a thing in my family where it's hard to fully relax sometimes. And like where you just like wake up at night and instantly as soon as your eyes open, your brain is all of a sudden going on 100 different things you have to do that day. Right? To where it's hard to fall asleep, hard to stay asleep. Cannabis has been the best thing for that ever. And like it's not like you're having to take like Benadryl or NyQuil and all this, which is tied to a lot of other things that like, and even heavier stuff like Ambien. So don't want to mess with all that. Right? So it's a much healthier alternative to help you actually sleep. And when does your body repair itself? When does it do all these amazing things? Sleep. It's your body's superpower. Right? So to be able to actually fully get rest like all the time was a huge eye-opener for me, right, in terms of using it medically. Yeah. Right? And obviously, it's just fun to smoke and kick it. Yeah. Right? The other thing, man, anxiety was a
who are you
big
talking
one,
to?
right? So it's just being able to have that and just, like, make sharp edges soft, right? It makes a huge difference. And I think when you're talking about things that would have been really nice to have, like as an 18-year-old in kind of that environment, yes, that would have been hugely beneficial, and all the way up to like 26 or something when I stopped, right? It was fun. But and you talk about like the pain management. It's like I remember going in and it's like before you start, it's like essentially it was like 2 a days. It's like you're handed a huge baggie of ibuprofen, and it's like, okay, so it's 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, and 3 before you go to sleep
for your workouts.
Yeah, because it was just like they knew it was going to be a problem, and it's like I had a great uncle who had like issues, bad issues. It was horrible for him because he took too much ibuprofen. Yeah. And I'm like, this is literally what we're doing. That's crazy. I understand targeted, like, short-term use of that stuff is beneficial at times. But, like, we have things we can use that don't have all those nasty side effects. So it's just, like, from helping sleep to anxiety management into pain relief. Like, as soon as I was out and able to do that freely, it was like one of these just like really annoying moments where it's like I could have had this the entire time because I'd smoke, but it was always at that point more recreational. It's like I'm not using it because you can't use it consistently enough to, I think, get long-term benefits from doing that. So it was always just like we were just hanging out and other people are going out and party, and I'm like, we can't do that. Yeah. It's like it's kind of funny looking back because a lot of coaches would just have very little issue with like responsibly going out in college because you're in college, go have fun, right? But like looking back, it's like I would much rather have my team smoke and hang out at home rather than go out and party. Yeah. But it's just so funny. It's just a different generation's mind is wired completely different regarding cannabis. And it's kind of funny being in that and seeing what rules they implemented, and then being out of that. It's interesting, right? It was super eye-opening going from not being able to do that to being able to smoke more. It's kind of wild.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I completely see that. Yeah. Oh shit. Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, my bad. Lost track of thought.
No, you're chilling. You're good, man.
Damn, I ain't even smoked.
Yeah, I was gonna say as soon as we start smoking, like that is gonna be.
That's
I'm
on
a space
1,000.
cadet. Like
He said I'm a space cadet. Yo,
Yeah.
that's you're
For real,
giving
though,
me
huh?
you're giving me prime material right now.
I know, I can't help it.
Oh,
But what was I getting ready to say? So back to the origins and stuff like that. I'm trying to pick your brain a little bit more about the smoking thing. I know.
yeah, dude. Yeah, fire away.
So like you said, you started in hemp, but what made you realize you could start getting with the growers and like really have something with the soil? Like, what made you really want to cross into like, okay, I know this works well with organics and like growing with regular agriculture things and whatnot, but what made you want to reach out to a living soil or to a Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Like, what made you start going in that direction?
Because I saw how well it worked in our own grow, and it's just like, and how you could do it, and especially like from my viewpoint when we were doing it there, was like, okay, how can we not sacrifice yield, quality, right, and overall like plant health and plant vigor while cutting down on cost as much as possible, right? Because at that point, it's as much as you don't want it to be about dollars and cents, like it kind of has to be at some point, right? So for me, it was like, okay, we're growing, and it almost sounds kind of silly, we're growing really, really good CBD, but like honestly, it was good. Like we were doing a really good job with that, and we weren't. It didn't cost us a lot. And overall, like it didn't take a lot of manpower to run that grow, right? It was overall like, besides feeding like once or twice a week, maybe some weeks, it was literally just water. And because when I'm thinking about like other companies that were doing very well creating these mixes, I'm like, because it's just so easy, right? You can get really, really good quality flour without a whole lot of effort. Now you can absolutely take that above and beyond. And you see guys that are killing it in these competitions around here with hash and flour, right? They're doing more, right? And you can, but it doesn't have to be that. Right? It gives you the opportunity to decide if you want to be married to your grow or not. Right? How much time do I want to spend in there doing? Do I really want to mix this up and water this in today? Do I just literally want to peek in and be like, hey, you guys good?
Yep.
And then zip it back up.
Yeah.
And then make sure something's watering, right? Because that's all it takes, right? It's just light and water. So I was like, okay, this is really easy. It's going to help people that haven't gotten into cultivating this plant. It's going to be a way less scary way to do it. Because when you're running salts, it's like, okay, I got to mix it in a certain order to make sure certain things don't precipitate and fall out of solution, because they can react. I need to make sure my pH is right. I need to make sure my EC is right. I need to do all these little steps before I even start to water the plant. Now I need to have a meter that reads soil moisture. I need to watch to see when it drops to know when my irrigation started again, and then at what intervals to like keep that block of cocoa or rock wool properly saturated at the right. It's just like things got complicated. Right. And the other part is just so wasteful, right? Sending like 15 to 20% of everything you're running down a drain. I'm like, granted, like home growers aren't the ones that are causing issues like in the Gulf with over fertilization of nitrates and phosphates, right? That's not them. That's big ag. But it's more so was kind of a principle thing.
Gotcha.
Like, if you recognize there's a problem, like try not to be a part of the problem. Not saying home growers are going to have much to do with any of that, but I was like, I don't want to participate in that fashion. So as this was kind of all coming together, I was like, okay, I saw other companies do this. I saw how there was nothing here. I'm like, there is a void, right, for a really high quality organic potting soil mix here in the Midwest, because there's some companies doing it, but the biggest thing is I don't see any testing. Right? They don't test it to see what nutrient levels are, to see if they're balanced, right? If they're sufficient, right? I don't see heavy metals testing, right? And when you're talking about like, it's probably still okay soils, right? They probably do fine. You make a good compost and put it with some peat and your ratio is right, like plants will grow. But where things really, really make a difference is how those things are balanced, right? Because the plant always, it's not like, it can control. It's like, I want a little bit of you, I want a little bit of you, I want a little bit of you. It's like things are competing for uptake in the plant, right? Like the obvious ones, like your cations, right? Like calcium, magnesium, potassium, right? They're all competing for uptake. So if you don't have much calcium and you have a lot of potassium, you're going to have calcium uptake issues because there's just too much of one,
Right.
right? They're not balanced.
Right.
So just to be, and it's not expensive for companies to do these tests. That's what's kind of crazy. So it's like, it doesn't even have to be like a go buy Riverview thing, but like if a company genuinely is not going to put up a soil test or send you one, it's not worth your time.
Yeah, and that was
It's not expensive.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things that LivingSoil was talking about, was the fact that, and that's one of the things about him. He does not, what he finds tried and true is what he sticks to. But so when it's like, when he was telling me about yours, and he was saying one of the reasons why he was willing to convert and test it out was because you had all the tests.
Yeah.
He specifically talked about the metals, all those things, and he was like, that these are things that are important, and like, somebody that could show all these things, like that's legit.
Yeah.
And that should be the new standard of what you should be looking for. So the fact that you brought that up.
100, because everybody can say, hey, this is the best, try this. This is the best. I'm really good. Like, this is great too.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can literally test it and show it.
You can show the quality.
Yeah.
Quantifiably.
Yeah, it's and like that's a big word I like, right? Quantify. When you talk about how to make your grow good, how to make your grow better. I don't know the right word for that, but how to optimize your grow. There we go. Right? You need data, right? You need numbers, right?
It's a science,
right? Quantify light, quantify soil moisture, quantify your like temperature, humidity, CO2. When you have numbers, you know where you sit, right? And with soils, it is no different, right? So you can send this in, get it tested, you see your balance, you see where your levels are, and that's honestly what we did when we were building this mix, right? Because you need to know where it's at, because there are so many. So it's like a big thing, like when you're diagnosing plant issues, right? It's like, okay, let's say you came in here with a runny nose today. What could that be from?
a multitude of things.
Right? One symptom, but a lot of possible different causes for that. You have allergies, right? Is it a cold?
Right.
Do you have flu, right? How serious is this, right? Plants are the same, right? It's like certain symptoms can look like other things. So without like a soil test to see what's going on, you can only guess, right? It's like, I'm having this issue. Why? Well, you can go on our Instagram and you can see all these tests. And like, again, and the big thing I also do like with these tests, they're made for topsoil for the most part, which is very homogeneous. Okay. It's very well mixed. It's consistent. These like potting soil mixes, like depending, let's say like, because sometimes the sample size is like this tiny little scoop for something. So if you take a scoop and you have like a chunk of fishbone meal or something, like your data is going to be kind of weird.
It's going to be skewed, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's like when you're looking at soil tests, like request to see more than one.
More than one sample.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can see averages. So that's why like we've posted so many. Because some like calcium might be at 260 on one and 170 on another and 200 on another and then 225 and then 150. Right? The important part is not necessarily the figure on one test. But it's kind of the average between all of them, because these mixes, even though they're mixed well in a mixer for a good time,
Right.
like to make sure like bag number 1 is the same as bag number 20, it's still not topsoil to which these tests were developed for.
Okay.
Right? So look at the averages of those tests, because you can get what's like a broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing, right? See an average of things, right? Because people should have that. You should be consistently testing. And then you can really tell what's in that mix. And I think, genuinely, I think that's what sets a few soil companies apart, right? There's only a few that do that. Okay, when you talk, like, look at the markets of, like, living soils, right? There's, honestly, I think of 3 that post a lot of tests like that, right? Kiss Organics, which is the one I said does a really good job. Everybody knows Build a Soil.
Right.
They're one of the first ones to kind of popularize, like Kiss with their, because another podcast, which was super popular in their product. Build a Soil was the first one to kind of commercialize, right? Living soils, right? Or at least to my knowledge. There might have been more, might have been others, but they're the most well known.
Yeah, because
right?
they started the video series. They started really doing like the whole thing.
And they've done an awesome job, right? And it's really cool for what they've done for this cultivation style, them and Kiss. But those are the other 2 companies I can think of that do that.
Wow.
It's hard for me to think of. I have trouble thinking of other ones, or ones at least on that level. And it's kind of, obviously I'm biased saying that, but that's why I think like Kiss, Build a Soil, and Riverview are just honestly on a different level than other soils, at least that I've seen them. They might exist. Again, there's a lot of niche and craft cultivators, right, that do this and do it right. But in terms on like the level that, I mean, they're a lot different level than we are right now, right? But that's what we're trying to build up to. But at least for more commercially available soils like that, they're the only ones testing. And like, how can you make a choice on a soil to run unless you know what's in it? And even if you don't understand it to a point, if a company is like willing to undress, right, like that, and be like, hey, honestly, look here, like this is everything we have.
Yes.
Everything that goes in it, right? And here's all the nutrient content. Here's our heavy metal content. Like, they're not hiding behind anything. And honestly, when it talks about like building consumer trust and trying to get people to try it, that's what like a big strategy that we're using to try and be like, guys, I promise, like just give it a shot. Like, you want whatever information you want about this soil, here you go. Right? So they can feel comfortable knowing that, okay, there is a level of detail in building the soil that is very different than a lot of other brands that you can find.
Definitely. I don't know if you want to go to break, but I just have one quick remark on what was said. So 2 things. One, like, I understand when you say like you're on a different level when it comes to the quality, because it's more than just being able to show those tests. I assume, just based on this conversation, that you test at every single stage of development.
Oh yeah.
And you go through averages at every single stage of development. That's being meticulous. That's just one aspect of it, though. The next thing is like, you're willing to show everyone the ingredients. It's like Coca-Cola. Everyone knows the ingredients to Coca-Cola, but who can actually put it together and make it good? That's what sets you apart. You tell everybody the sauce, but they don't know how to cook it.
What's kind of funny is like, at some point, like my folks have talked about that, right? It's like, hey, look, this is literally everything, right? You're showing, and like, it's not easy, right? Even if you know, like, here's every ingredient and here are the nutrition targets we're going for, right? Because there's still a whole lot of other work that goes into that in terms of like where you're sourcing different things, right? The quality of your biochar, like where you're getting your worm castings and compost, the kind of peat moss you use. Because I think one of the main feedback, like points of feedback we get from people is the structure. It's really, really light.
Yes.
But there's a lot of airspace, but it holds onto water really well. And that was, again, the kind of the thing that I think makes it special, is there was a lot of intent and care in where we're sourcing things from. And yeah, dude, I appreciate that a lot.
Of course.
Right? Because it is definitely a lot of work to do that.
Okay, back to you.
All right, just gonna take a smoke break.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so once we came back, I wanted to talk a little bit more about like grower tips, a little bit more for like talking more for the growers and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Give them a little bit of advice.
Yeah. Well, I know one thing that's kind of big for everybody to make sure it's important for your grow to be successful or to have a lot of difficulties is managing pests and disease. Right. And having a good IPM regimen is really important. And again, making sure that you're doing things proactively instead of reactively. And it just helps you mitigate a lot of problems doing things that way. So a couple of things that I like to kind of make sure people know is that pests, right, they all have a lot of different life cycles that occur in different places of the plant. Right, you have pests in the soil, you have pests that start on the leaves, come to the soil, and then go back up in the plant. You have pests that never touch the soil, right? So there's a lot of different strategies that you have to implement to make sure you're kind of holistically tackling this problem rather than not just, okay, I see an aphid on the leaf, okay, so I need to focus on the leaf, but you don't know what's happening in the ground. Or thrips, because they have life stages that actually occur in the soil too. So again, there's a few different ways that people kind of attack this, right? You have things that you can spray on the plant, right? Drench in the soil, and you can also use beneficial insects, right? Which I really like that. So basically you have certain insects that predate the insects that are eating your plant, right? And causing issues. And what's really nice about those, right? They work 24/7. Right, so they're always on there. They get into the nooks and crannies that sometimes when you're spraying, you miss. So especially too in flower.
Yep.
can't spray much, man, at that point, right? It's you don't want to. But you have insects that can go to work, right? Or keep things at a clean level, because really once you get past week 2 or 3 and you really stop putting anything on the plant, like you need things in the canopy going to work for you, right? Without worrying about what you're doing to your flowers.
Facts.
So what really works well in my experience too is using them in conjunction with each other. There are certain sprays that you use that are much easier on insects, especially your beneficials, and you just need to make sure that you're getting the right ones for that. And then there's other sprays that you're using to maybe induce an immune response from the plant.
Oh, my bad.
Go for it. Absolutely.
The insects. Those would be like the grasshoppers, the ladybugs.
Well, so people can use ladybugs if you're doing that kind of naturally, but they're actually not really good to ship because they can carry parasites and they pass that around. So what we would be looking at are very, very, very small little bugs. So a couple common ones, Stratiolaelaph schmitus. I hope I'm not butchering the second name on that. But strats, pretty much what you call them short. They're actually they're a soil-dwelling insect, right? So they're living in the top 2 inches, which if you're having issues with fungus gnats, they are really good for that because they will predate the larva. Okay. Right? And another one is like a life stage of thrips, right? Occurs in the soil. So they are really good at helping manage that pest as well. Another one, Delosia coriaria, another last name that I can't really pronounce right. But Delosia, right, is a little predatory road beetle, right, that can actually fly, which is kind of nice. So they're really well at establishing in rooms and maintaining populations, so you don't have to apply them all the time. But again, the interesting thing is, and that's why when using beneficials, you need to understand what predator attacks what pest. Because if you're having aphid problems and you're like, oh, I heard strats on the Stratiolaelaph, so I should put that in my soil. It's not going to do anything for what's up on your plant, right? So as you're going through this and you're trying to implement those insects into your own garden, make sure there should be information on whatever your site they're getting from. I'm not super familiar with ones that do smaller orders. But again, just make sure it's not too far removed from the source, because they are living and that they're pretty fragile. So you don't want it sitting somewhere for a while before it gets shipped to you. You want to make sure you're getting a live delivery. So it's definitely do some research on where you're sourcing. I'm not super familiar with anyone specific that at least will do it at a smaller scale for home growers. But again, if you can find a place that does work really well in the system. Okay. But yeah, so again, that's how you can attack pests, and there are other things that you can do to spray on the plants. Oh, you good? And to make sure, you got it. Okay. To make sure, you're chilling. To again make sure what you're spraying on the plants that isn't necessarily for insects, but again, one product that I really, really, really like, and I will use it all the time. It's called Regalia.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It will also stain anything it touches. It's like deep red. But it's basically, again, it's a natural plant-derived product that stimulates your plant's immune response. So it makes it much more resistant to pest and disease. And that I've noticed a huge difference using that product. It's really good. Okay. So if you're listening, try and find Regalia and use that. It's worth it. Okay. Another product one, Sufoil X, is a really, really good contact spray that basically suffocates insects. It's like a thick mineral oil. You want to apply that by itself though, because some of these things when you're applying, they're not compatible in a tank. So you just got to make sure you're following directions and usage instructions to make sure that you're not going to make something that's going to be really hard on your plant and when you spray that. But Sufoil X is amazing. Regalia is amazing. And those are, again, things that need to be applied separately. Regalia you can tank mix with some stuff, but keep Sufoil separate. Okay. In terms of delivering nutrients to the plants though, because that's another really good thing that you can use those foliar applications for. Here you and it can be like a kind of a quick fix to a deficiency. It can be used in conjunction with like liquid feeding to address deficiencies, but it's not really something that you can rely to. What am I trying to say with that? You can't rely on it as like a big source of nutrition for the plant, right? Honestly, you're getting most of that from the roots, okay? But it's really, really good, especially if it's either correcting a minor deficiency for a little bit while you fix things in the soil, or it's like you've got things really dialed in, right? And you're pushing these plants and you've hit just everything and you're trying to get that last 5%. I think that's where those like foliars can really make a difference.
Okay.
Like they're important and they do help. But in terms of like where you really see that benefit, it's like when you've got things dialed and you're kind of looking to push plants in every way you can, that's when foliars can really be effective.
Okay. So, okay.
Did I say that product? Albion Metallosate. Really good. It's a weird name and I don't even know if I'm saying that right again. But I don't know if they sell smaller quantities, so maybe get in on it with a few people. But
okay.
It's like amino chelated nutrients, which means it's much easier for your plant to utilize, to take in and utilize, and it's really good. It's worth it.
Now you're making me think of something.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the times, how long do you think it takes companies to think about growing, or making supplies for like the average person? Or do you think that's even going to be a thing with kind of how everything's going?
Some of those, like the big ag ones.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's a good question. Because I have no idea.
Yeah, because like people grow, but I'm kind of wondering as it does get federalized and all that, will people still home grow as much? Because you kind of hear those things where people are like, they grow because they're passionate about it, but then there's other people that are like, well, if I had more access to it, I wouldn't.
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on the person, and honestly, like because a lot of people can grow like tomatoes at home, right?
Yeah,
but they're like, I'm just way too busy, and
exactly.
I get it.
Yeah.
So it's like I could see it going either way. I could see kind of like passion continuing for it because that's kind of where it started. It's not like it's not like there was this culture around growing tomatoes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of evolved over decades to where it's like still something people want to do, right? Want to be a part of that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know if it would go anywhere. I could honestly see that going both ways, but I think it's going to stick around.
Hell yeah.
It's just like I think people, when they do it and they see how well it works, and I think the biggest thing cannabis has going for it is a really pretty plant.
Yeah.
Right? It looks really good. Like when it's flowering and you've got good color and everything, like it's aesthetically pleasing to look at.
Yeah.
And like you get a sense of pride with it sometimes. So it's like I think once people just have an experience like that, it bites. Right? And it's like you want to do it again, you want to do it better. And like it gets fun trying to push a really beautiful plant to finish really nice. I think once people do that once, it's hard to not do that again.
Hell yeah. That makes perfect sense.
See, dog, I'm not gonna lie. Slumped is a little slump right now. But I'm gonna try to hold it together. So, Mr. RiverView LivingSoil. That's how I know you. Right? So, months ago, D told me, yo, don't be a dummy and go buy grow equipment. And what did I do? Go be a dummy and go buy grow equipment. I did the exact. That's how I work.
It's like, hey, what should you not do right now? It's like, all right, I'm gonna go take that. I'm good.
We're still working on that. So I go to shout out Grow Active once again. Shout out Bo, everybody out there, man. Like they got me right. And when I told them, yo, I want to grow. You know what the first thing they told me?
What's that?
Go, yeah, you're growing in that. You're growing in living soil.
That's so dope to hear.
So
that's really cool.
So when they told me that, I was like, okay. And then it lined up with what D was telling them because I told them, I know Donovan and everything like that. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, no, like if you're going to start to really grow, you got to do it right. And that's exactly what he said, right?
That's fun.
So that's where I know you. That was the start, right? I had never grown a plant in my life until I started growing in your stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm doing a bunch of research and I'm looking and people are like, yeah, you got to go buy this soil and that, and I'm like, nah, what? So I go to the store, I go to Home Depot or whatever, and I'm looking at their organic stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is not it. Like they got the 444 blends, 424, and all that crazy stuff. I'm like, yeah,
true.
No, I don't need this. I literally already have it, right? So then I'm like, okay. I really start looking into the soil, and I'm like, oh shit, no, this is quality stuff, and like that's So someone that does numbers, I really care about that stuff. And I didn't even grow anything before that. So I'm looking, I'm like, okay, these ratios are good. I'm trying to get through this quick. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
So I'm like, okay, these ratios are looking good. And I'm like, okay, wait, they're talking about worm castings and all of this for organic soil. Let me check if it has. And I'm like looking through the website. I'm like, oh my God, this literally has it's out of the box ready, right? So D was like, bro, you do not have the time nor the dedication right now to grow cannabis. I'm like, you're right. But I want to grow something. So I started growing basil, right? So I went through like four different pots of basil. And I'm just seeing them grow. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? And awesome. On the last run, like I'll show you a picture. On the last run, right, I had finally got the amount of seeds right and everything. And like I understood how to get the soil right. And there was some things that I bought to supplement the soil because I knew there were certain things that would boost it. And I started to really figure out how it interacts with your soil, right? So I'm seeing all of this. I'm like, who the fuck made this, bro? Like, whoever made this is a sick man like me because the attention to detail, man, it's insane, right? And so to actually meet you and put the two together, like, for me, that's why, like, I know this is special for you, bro. This is honestly special for me, bro. Because, like, I'm actually meeting the people that inspire me to do this stuff. And I'm seeing them. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the right space right now.
Dude, I appreciate that. That's honestly super cool to hear. It's like to get that story. Because that's like ultimately what we want it to be for people is like a good first experience with cannabis.
Yeah. I want to grow so much. Patience.
Because it's just like, it's a good ground level, right? It's just base. It's like it doesn't have to be complicated. But as you kind of get more into this, which it sounds like it's a bit, which you are, so it's kind of like, you will take it a little bit farther than just watering, right? But there's not like anything wrong with that ground level, but it can be however intricate you want it to be, right? So that's what's going to be kind of fun for you over the next few, because you're going to start doing more stuff like that. I think it's cool.
Now, speaking of growing in environments, we could switch over to pots versus beds. Yeah.
Okay. So this is another one that I think people are like, which way do I go? Both work, right? I think what's like most common for people growing at home is like smaller space and like it's easier to take pots in and out. So like I feel like again pots are probably more common than beds, and there's nothing wrong with growing in pots or a bed. They just each offer kind of a different advantage or disadvantage.
Right.
So with pots, okay, they're easy to move in and out. The only thing is depending on what size pot and how long you are veg or flowering for in that pot, you might have to feed, right? Because it's lower soil volume. Normally when we're recommending pot sizes to people to like be like, hey, you're going to be good water only, it's like 15 gallons. You can get away with 10 and you can get away with less, but you're starting to lose some of that production, like that, because just the soil runs out.
Okay.
You can't load it that heavy. So as you get in like below 10s, you might have to like feed somehow, which you can either do through a top dress, which is a lot of nutrients all at once that slowly mineralize, or like a soluble fertilizer, which is like immediately available. But you'll probably have to feed somehow. Now, what's really cool about beds, again, you have more soil volume per plant, because normally if you're running like a 4x4, you can put as many plants as you want in there, but I found like 6 has just always been just an easy one. But that's a lot of soil volume per plant, so when you're just watering, it will go a long ways. And what's really cool about the beds, it's a communal root system. Right? And like plants definitely communicate, right? They share different things that they're putting into soil to attract different soil organisms or biology to mineralize something that they need, and basically this interaction with the biological environment in the soil, right? But they're all sharing that. So it's a community effort to grow and communicate and work with the soil. So I've just found that has always worked best for me, but pots definitely do still work.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because like towards the end when I was growing with living soil, we started switching over to beds.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it can be so hands off at that point. Like you really like amount of effort that you would have to put into growing 6 plants in a 4x4 is like so small. Like it's just literally peek in, water. You'd never have to feed, and it would rip. Yeah. Right.
So, I know if he's growing, he's definitely still growing in the bed.
Yeah. If you can swing it, it's a little bit more soil. It's like logistically, it's a little annoying because it's just a big heavy thing that if you had to move, you just shovel, like carrying bags of soil down to the basement kind of thing. Yeah. Done that.
Yeah, but if you
but it's worth it.
Yeah, because if you get one of them beds that got wheels on it,
the casters are nice. You can slide them around. I mean, it's if you can make it work. Beds are awesome. Yeah. But like you can still grow really good pot.
For sure.
Those pots.
Now, and you said fabric preferred. Yeah.
Like they make ones now, which I really like because it's kind of a hybrid between straight fabric pot and like a plastic. So what's nice about a plastic pot is it doesn't dry down so fast because there's not as much in contact with the air. But you start to get a lot of that root circling if you're in there too long, which isn't great. But the fabric pots, you get a lot of root pruning, but then they dry down so fast. So it's like combining the two I found has really worked well because they have like a kind of like a tarp liner. But then at the bottom, there's maybe a few inch strip of just the fabric. So then as the roots go down, they hit that and they prune, so you don't get as much of that circling. Okay. Right? So you still get root pruning with a pot that's not going to dry out too fast. Yeah, so those are awesome too. If you can swing those are great.
Another question that I got about pots. Now, I know you were saying you to go up by 5-gallon intervals. What would you say is the lowest gallon that you would start at?
Well, I guess like if you're going from like some kind of rock wool cube or like root riot or even like a soil block, usually like a 1 gallon works pretty well.
Really?
Right? Okay. And then you can veg in that and kind of build out that root structure from there. And then like you can go, if you're going in pots, you can go straight to a 10, but if you don't mind, like 5 to 10, right, is probably better.
Okay.
You're vegging out, just kind of slowly building up that root system.
Okay.
But yeah, again, it just kind of depends what you want to end in, how many times you want to transplant. Because even I've just gone from like 1 gallons and just like 6 of them into a 4x4, right? Which you just got to be careful not to overwater too much, but you'd really have to be kind of drowning them to really hurt them like that. But especially with potting soils are so light now, like even when it's really saturated, you're still getting a lot of air in the root space. So it kind of helps prevent that a bit. But yeah, so I'd say that'd probably be about a good progression for those pots. But if you're going to go water only, try and get to maybe at least 15 gallons. 10 might work, depending on your watering habits. Oh, I guess while we're talking about that watering habit comment, when you're watering these soils, right, especially if you're trying to go water only, you don't want to see a bunch of water running out the bottom of the pot because that's basically like washing the minerals out of your soil, right? It's like you're down at the dinner table and someone's wiping food off your plate before you're done. Yeah. Right. So you got to be careful because if you do that too much, the soil's not going to take you as far. Right. You're just going to run out of gas. So definitely be mindful when watering. Water just slowly and deeply, and make sure you limit runoff, and that you'll really extend the life of that soil.
Okay.
Go ahead, yeah, no, just quick word on that. Again, like you made that very clear on your website. And like when I tell you, like as someone that really pays attention to things like that, you have really good detailed instructions as to how to use your stuff. Like, so there's a certain level of quality that you're putting in. It's recognized by people that don't even do this stuff. Seriously.
Like on our website, we're really, and like, if it's not already up there, it will be soon. Oops. But we try and go do pretty in-depth FAQ stuff. Or like, let's say you got one of the soluble fertilizers from us, like a flower one. You're like, okay, I want to know more than what's on the label. All of our stuff has like a QR code.
Yes.
Right? So when you hit that QR, it takes you to like an educational page that helps with kind of how to best use this product and a little bit more detail about like how to feed and when to feed and how much to feed based on the product that you're using, right? So we try and make that easy because it's not just trying to get a soil for you to use, but it's helping you understand how to use it well, right? It can be simple, but you can make sure you do a few things that are going to really help your experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, so now I kind of want to go into a little bit. We didn't talk about IPMs or anything like that, right?
Yeah, so we touched on the IPM and the foliars and pots and bedside.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
we're chilling.
All right, so now we can get to the fun shit. All right, now we can kick it. Okay, cool.
Ooh, your boy is slumped now. Fuck. In a good way. I'm chilling. It's goofy, but goddamn.
And
You already know that's
That's
how
what
it
we
goes.
do.
That's not a 2 Terp, man. That's why I had to
so
make sure we
funny.
got the business out the way first.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, because I'm chilling now.
I mean, we got what, another 7 minutes?
Good. Okay, so because I got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
All right, so y'all need your 3 favorite strains. Yeah.
Okay, number 1 is a cut that I got from somebody I got connected with, who got big off this out in California. It's called Guava Gelato. Guava Gelato. I can't remember. Cannot remember the cross right now. But it's really gassy, like rubbery, like burnt rubber. Man, that's number 1. That's honestly, one of my favorites. What is another one? What have I grown lately? Oh, there's one I'm growing right now that I'm really excited about because it's like the complete opposite of that. It's like just really fucking candy. It smells like a bowl of Fruity Pebbles, like heavy, which is kind of wild. It's called Cartel Candy. That one I'm super excited about. That should be good. I'm pumped about it. I've got maybe another 2 weeks on that plant.
Okay.
So
Where them genetics come from?
no idea.
Okay.
Honestly, the one thing that I've never really gotten as into or know much about it is like genetic history and lineage.
Okay.
And a lot of the breeding, even though it's like the work that goes on in breeding is crazy. Like, talk about talented people.
Yeah.
People that can do that really well. It's a really cool. It takes a lot of patience.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes
Sure,
I do
sure.
not have that.
Yeah.
At least for like prolonged patience for that. But yeah, that would probably be Guava Gelato, that Cartel Candy. I'm really looking forward to. God, what was another one recent? I'm trying to think of ones recently that I liked. What was it? I can honestly see it in my brain. Cream. There we go. Cream.
Okay.
That one was really good. There's actually a video of that plant on our Instagram.
Okay.
That one was pretty. She was, that was a really good looking plant.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a little video of just like against a white wall I'm thinking about. That one was like, honestly, tasted good and also was pretty one.
Hell yeah.
Then
Okay.
finish up deep purple.
Hell yeah. And then my last question to round it up. All right. So let's say you got a smoke session.
Yeah.
You can bring anybody, dead or alive, 5 people.
Oh man, I gotta think about that.
Who you sparking up with?
Anthony Bourdain. would be one of them.
Okay. A few people have said Anthony.
Yeah, dude, that would be really cool to get to talk to that man. Who else would I bring? I gotta take Michael Jordan there too.
Ooh. I like that.
I would like to hear that man's stories.
Oh yeah.
I would hope
be
he'd
hard.
share a lot of them because those would be fun ones. They'd be wild.
Yeah. Shout out MJ.
Yeah. Tiger Woods.
Joe.
Yes.
Oh, that's tough.
That's
kind of
I'm
a
kind of
tough
like
group
sliding
so
in an
far.
athletic slide right
That's
there.
what I'm saying.
But,
You
like,
kind of going for like.
That's
I
a
was
tough-
I was just thinking like people that like are really really good at what they do, right? Like peak.
I ain't gonna say it yet. You just get all right. You got
Yeah,
2 more. Let's see
okay.
let's see what you do here. Hold on.
Yeah. So got
Hold on.
Anthony, Michael, Tiger. Who else would I bring? This is kind of hard.
You kind of set the tone. I don't know. I was
Yeah,
like,
man.
I see where you. I was like, oh man.
I'm trying to think because like I had three. Those three were easy to say.
Yeah, honestly, right now you kind of got like
Yeah.
this might be like top 5.
That's a killer group.
Top 5 smoke sessions of all time.
Man.
Too T3rpd.
But
Like,
I would
for real.
honestly the goofiest combo because like Snoop and Martha Stewart.
Okay.
Honestly, but
okay.
both killers too. But it would be funny because I ended up watching some kind of Martha Stewart documentary the other day, and honestly, like just her story is wildly impressive. But the thing I always thought was like super funny was like her and Snoop linking up like that.
I know. I could see them.
It was interesting to hear Snoop's like insight into that relationship too, which is kind of cool.
Hell yeah, that 5 is supreme right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like I said, that's like top 5 sessions.
That'd be kind of wild.
Yeah, like out of Too T3rpd, that was like some of the best that I've heard. For real though.
For real?
Yeah, I was like, as soon as you started hitting them, I was like, hold on.
I was thinking about that. I was like, this is a really odd group. But yeah, the first 3 were easy, and then honestly, I'm still happy with the second.
Hell
season.
yeah. Hell yeah.
That's wild. There's to be some stories at that table.
Oh yeah.
Cause Snoop just did the Olympics.
Yeah.
So and he always played ball.
Yeah. There would be a lot of, because I'm just like thinking like what I would want at this dinner, and I would just love to hear their stories.
Oh, so it's a dinner.
You already know Martha finna throw down.
Is that what that's it? Was it a dinner?
Nah, it's a smoke
Smoke
session.
session.
Oh, it's smoke
But if you
sesh.
want to make it a dinner, go ahead.
We can smoke and dinner.
I mean,
It's
hey,
kinda hard.
you
There
know,
we
we
go.
improv around here,
Yeah.
so you could add. Hey, we more
Infused
specific.
dinner too.
There you go. See,
Okay, this is my
detail. There you
We're
go.
having again smoke sesh before with infused dinner with those 5. There would be an interesting story in there.
Hell
for
yeah.
sure.
You just gotta make sure you got
I'm still like overthinking if that was such a weird group or not.
Nah, that was clutch.
Okay,
That was hella clutch.
That's funny.
You got anything else?
Well, I was gonna say, like, honestly, you just make sure you have like a cigar. Like you have
Ah.
a regular cigar and a weed cigar for MJ, because
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
and
You
some
right.
brown liquor, and some brown liquor. Because look, dog, I say that with
Honestly,
respect, because
that
MJ
would
would
be-
do that and drop 50 on your head,
straight
buckets.
up.
It's crazy.
So, it's respect,
The
bro.
stories from that man would be insane.
Word.
I want to hear his gambling story. Oh my god, the backroom shit.
Hey,
that he's-
chill out. Hey. I'm trying to make it
That
one
never
day.
happened.
All right.
Oh, it's time to wrap it up.
I'm trying to make it one
Never
day.
happened.
What is he doing? We already don't get paid off of this shit. What is you doing, man? We ain't never gonna get paid now.
I didn't even say nothing.
Jesus. What? All right. Well, shout out to MJ. Shout out to the family. We love you. 23. That's the only recognized that we see. Yeah. See, that's what you get. That's
You know what?
get.
I'm gonna take that one on the chin. I'm
gonna
gonna
have
take
to.
it on the chin.
You're gonna have to.
That's funny.
We love you, MJ, bro. Come on, we love you, dog.
Sheesh.
Yeah, that would be a great smoke sesh.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. I'm kind of happy with them. They're growing on me now. The second 2 are growing on me. It's like your own list.
Now you gotta make it happen.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm good with that list. That'd be
Yeah,
fun. Okay, I'm settling
Yeah.
into that one.
All right. What was you gonna say?
We're perfect on time.
Okay. All right. Got anything else you want to cover?
I don't think so, man. It's been fun for real. Get
Hell
to kind
yeah.
of smoke with you guys and chill and just kind of shoot it all. It's fun.
For sure,
Good
for
time.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
Appreciate
glad you
you
came
guys.
through, man. This was
Yeah.
long awaited. I'm
Absolutely.
glad you came through.
Yeah.
Definitely don't be a stranger. We gotta have you come through again, for real, for real.
Be a good time. I'd love
Hell
to.
yeah. Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
For
Thank
sure,
you
bro.
guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Okay, now let them know where to find you.
Oh, okay. So we got a website, rvlsmo.com.
Mhm.
Right, so that's where you can find a lot of our products. We've got our soil blends. We've got biochar that we charge. Make sure that's ready to go in your soil right off the bat. We've got soluble vegetative and flower fertilizers on there. I'm getting a couple new things actually coming next week, which we are super excited about. And one is like a dry amendment pack. Again, that you can use to top dress or remineralize like depleted soil, so you don't have to throw your soil away.
Okay.
It's like you have a run, you harvest your plant, you follow directions to add a certain amount to your soil, and then let that break down in a couple days, and you're good to just water again. So we're getting that on there. We're really excited about that. And the other one it's a product called Bio Boost. So it's a mixture of castings, compost, biochar, and then a few other things that we put in there to kind of activate the biological life in that. So that's going to be available. Really excited about that because you can use that to build your own soils as a top dress.
Hell yeah.
It can even be used on like house plants, and you got a garden and stuff like that. That would be really good for that as well.
Okay.
So, rvlsmo.com, and then Instagram is RiverView LivingSoils, all one word.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hell yeah. All right. You already know, bro.
I mean, it's already gonna be on the screen. If y'all don't know this voice by now, I don't know what to tell you. But it's Slump with 3 P's, 1 D _out. Same thing every week.
All right. Oh, you ain't got to tag none of the other socials?
Oh, I mean, am I allowed to? I'm really asking that question. Like, anyways, so hey, your boy's trying to be a professional now. We got Sleepy Studios. Wow, Sleepy Studios. SLPI_studios. If you need camera work, video work, social media content, anything visually, hit my line. I got y'all.
Did you mention the portfolio?
Oh, yeah. Hey, we got a portfolio now. Link in bio. You know what I'm saying? Slump with 3 P's, 1 D.myportfolio.com. Take a look. If you like what you see, hit Donovan, hit me. We'll get you right.
Yes, sir. And you already know. And you already know, shout out to big homie. Well, he ain't my big homie, but I mean, he ain't shit. He younger than me. I don't even know why I said big homie. Shout out to the homie T. You already know. No socials.
We miss you, big dog.
Yep. Hey, man, I love this Too T3rpd shit. Yes, y'all can tell.
It's a good time, man.
You already know. But, all right, make sure y'all follow us on all social medias. Make sure you hit up that YouTube. Make sure you hit us up on that hotline with the voicemails and text, 314-399-9711. And then don't forget to follow me, Donovan2408. Also, though, before we end this, because I'm sure we're going to drop this week, make sure y'all come this Thursday, you know what I'm saying? Your boy is doing another festival this week, but this time it's in the hometown. Fly over. Yeah, so we'll be performing Thursday at 9 o'clock with Whimsy Lohan. That's the other team that we'll be performing with. They're a team out of Chicago. Like, they perform at the improv shop. I think they won like best improv team last year.
Okay.
Yeah, like, you know, so we
Okay. No, y'all getting there, bro.
yeah, you know, we moving on up. You know what I'm saying?
Stop giving me material, bro.
Hey, you know. hey.
Alrighty.
Maybe I'm giving myself material too. You never know.
Got to keep it rolling.
All right, Diggy D.
Yeah, hey. This could just be me. You just never know.
Okay.
But anyway, make sure you check us out. 9 p.m. Improv Shop. Tickets are on Flyover. You should, we'll have a specific link underneath there. You know, we'll do something fancy for y'all. But y'all already know. Make sure y'all check us for the next episode. Yeah.
All right, thanks, man.
You already know.
Absolutely.
All right, we gotta let this man get back home, man. I already know you got a long drive, dog.
2 hours home.
That's what I'm saying. I really appreciate you coming.
Oh no,
through,
it's
dog.
all good. For real.
Really.
Like, I enjoyed this. It was a great time.
Hell yeah. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time. Peace. Ooh, damn. All right, there we go. Saying I'm rusty at it. It's been a minute. Hold on. There we go.
It's Too T3rpd.